Hi and welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video. Today we have a very important topic, and it's the importance of noticing the double standards you have in relations to racism and hate. Most of us do notice that racism is bad, that it's coming from a bad place, and that hate towards other races is unnecessary and not good for the society, and it's not loving. And of course, like I always talk about on this channel, everything that is not loving comes from the ego. Why does racism happen? Well, it's not random, because it does seem random, like why do people hate other people who have different color of their skin? And if you contemplate enough, you could see that it's because people have a collective ego. In the same way that you can have an ego, like this person can have an ego, in the same way the society as a whole can have an ego, or a group of people can have a collective ego. And what happens is that a group, like, you get identified with one race, and then the other race seems not you don't identify with them. You create boundaries on which is you and with which you identify with, so you know how to deal with the world. For example, when it comes to wars and stuff, you are identified with your country, but when it comes to daily stuff, you identify with your family. And of course, you can be identified with different things on different issues. For example, if aliens come attacking at us or some shit, you would be identified with this planet, not only with humans but also with animals and planet in whole. But you can also be just identified with your country, like I said, in the scale of going to wars with other countries and stuff. And then also you can be identified with your city, and then you can be identified with your race. You can be identified with, you can find many different identities for yourself. You can for example identify as a scientist or an atheist or a Christian or whatever, and then you create this collective ego, which then limits you into this bubble you create for yourself. And then there comes this us versus them mentality. Like, you see other people, and those that are outside of your circle and outside of your identity or collective ego, they are by definition bad, because they're not you, and what is not you, you see as a threat. And then it's obvious to see that racism only happens because you don't identify other people that are not the same race as you. You identify them as not you. You don't see them as yourself, as one of yourself or whatever. You see what I'm trying to say. So enlightenment is, in a way, just clearing up the ego more and more and more until you stop identifying with anything. Like, for an example, an undeveloped ego could say, I only identify with my family and that's it. And then you have others that are identifying with their country on a whole, and then there are others who identify with their religion or something, and it goes upwards. But the point is to get rid of all the attachments, because un- until you do that, you will be hating others. And until you notice that everything is identifiable with you, like you are everything in this reality is a part of you, then you will have problems, because something could always hurt you. For an example, if you identify with your religion, you're always going to be warring against other religions and other worldviews and beliefs and stuff. Or if you're identified with your country, you're always going to fight with and hate other countries. And notice the double standards, because you allow yourself to you don't you say like racism is bad, like okay, yeah, racism is bad, but notice that that is coming just from the fact that society needs to put boundaries onto you in how to act, because if they didn't, then it's not gonna be the most productive society. Like if you were killing black people just for fun and just because you see them as a threat and you don't identify with them, then the whole society would not get far. And that's all fine. You do notice that. You do see that that is a problem. But what you don't see is that you identify with other things. And then you have double standards on the other stuff, like it is fine to hate other religions, it is fine to hate other worldviews, it is fine to hate other countries, and it's other to hate even my neighbors because they're evil or something, they're too loud. There are always reasons to hate. Just notice this. Like, you could say, oh, but it is reasonable. Like, their religion is wrong, or they shouldn't be loud, or anything. But notice that that is just ego. There is no objective morality. Like, people can be loud. It's just they aren't loud, usually, because the society tells us, okay, we have to be considerate towards other people so we can live in harmony. But notice that there is no objective morality. People can act whatever they like, and you hate them because they're too loud, but when you are too loud, then it's fine. So you have double standards. And also when you're all against racism, but when it comes to hating some person on the street that doesn't rub you the right way, then it's fine. When there is someone mean to you, you say they are evil and they shouldn't do that. But when you're mean to others, then it's fine. Like, if you realize that hate is not coming from love and it's not coming from good place and it's quote unquote bad, then notice that all hate is in the same way. So it is really a hypocrisy to just put racism in that box and maybe some other stuff, like just a little. But when someone is, for example, acting like a douche, or someone, for example, kills someone, or someone is mean to you or whatever, then hating is fine. In the end, it's all coming from the ego, or the illusion of the separateness, and the illusion of this is me and this is someone who is not me and who is trying to and who is against me. So the goal is to notice that you can not identify with anything and not get attached to anything, or paradoxically get attached to everything, like every religion, like every person, like every country, like every mean person as well, the person who kills people as well, because he is you, he's a part of you. And you really have double standards when you do this. When you say that person is bad, Like maybe even he does some things that are, for example, coming from the ego, and then you notice it and say, "Oh, it's coming from the ego, and that is bad." Then, but notice that you hating the person for being hateful and being coming from the ego is coming from the ego itself. So you're not being a loving person for pointing out and hating on that person, but you're just doing the same thing with your actions. You're literally doubling down on what they're doing. So the solution is not to hate on a person, hate on a racist person, or hate on a killer, or hate on your neighbors for being too loud. All hate in the end is coming from the illusion, and the delusion, and is unnecessary because you are everything. You can be identified with everything, not just one thing. And then to see how far it goes, you need to notice that you need to love. You need to notice that you do love people who act in that ways. For an example, Hitler. If you met Hitler, would you be loving towards them? That can be that is a really good example, because Hitler is considered as this the worst person who ever lived, or something like that. And notice that if there is no morality, and if killing is not worse than doing than your neighbors being too loud because there is no morality, and you just see that he is coming from the ego, but his ego is less developed than your inconsiderate neighbors, but it's coming from the same place, you can, and when you see where is he coming from, when you can clearly see that he is coming from a place of scarcity and ego, then you wouldn't judge him, because in the end he is you. He is a part of you. He's a part of the collective consciousness. So there is no need for judging him or hating him at all. Of course, we can disapprove his actions and his ways, but in the end we need to accept where it's coming from. And yeah, we still have to notice that those things are coming from the ego and that are wrong, but we should not do the same thing with those people. We shouldn't say, okay, those people are evil, because that's what Hitler did. Hitler said Jews are evil, and then if you if you do the same thing that Hitler did to Jews, then how are you better than him? In the same way, the prisons, like people steal and stuff and kill, and they do stuff that is against the law. And what we do as a society, we judge them and we say they are bad and we hate them. We put them in this box as this evil people. And then, of course, nothing changes. They don't just realize that stealing and killing is wrong. With hate, hating the hate won't bring love. Loving the hate, or loving the people who hate, and showing love to people who hate is the only way. So when you see a person who is coming from the who you can clearly see that their actions are coming from the ego, don't say that just, oh, you're mean and it's coming from the ego and you're an awful person and stuff. Show them love, and when you do, love comes in the end. Love goes to them as well, and that's how people change, when you show them love. Because did they got there in the first place? Why did they become such a person? Because they lack love, they lack unity with others. Notice that no person has ever and could ever be born evil. Like, all children are happy, innocent beings, and they just, with lack of love and unity, like I said, they become more and more isolated, and their ego kinda takes control. They build their ego just to protect themselves from this reality that is created in their mind. Because when you don't get love, you imagine this is the world, and this is an awful world then, because if there is no love, then I should be I should act awful as well. So Hitler also wasn't born bad, but the society and the circumstances that he was born in dictated then his later on beliefs, and ultimately all the stuff he did and the person he became. So to take out of this video, don't, like I said, don't try fixing hate by hate. You can't hate your way out of hate. The only way to fix hate is love. Because hate is ego, hate is being limited, hate is being isolated to one thing, and love is unity, and love is transcendence of the boundaries that ego creates. So please don't have double standards. Don't just unconsciously assume, okay, racism is bad, but me hating the person who I don't like, or my parents who are so evil, or the teacher who is so bad to me, or the colleague who makes fun of me. Don't hate them, because you won't achieve anything. And notice how you act towards other people, because that will show where are you coming from. And when you fix and when you give love to yourself, then there will be no ego, and then you could act in a loving way towards others. And that's it. That's it for this one. I hope you enjoyed it, and stay conscious. Yeah. See you in the next one. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, all that good stuff, if you, of course, want. And see you in the next one. Bye.